Moritz in Switzerland, the oldest and most historic ice track on the planet, is the venue for round 7 of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. It's Saturday morning, another beautiful day in ice sliding paradise, and we're ready for Heat 2 of the women's bob. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside, bringing you all the thrilling action.
And it's thrilling, Martin. Elisa Riesling and Heather Moyes for Canada, third place here to the first run, had a leader's draw. Drove well, good speed on the bottom, and Riesling wasn't finished better than 7th all season. Is in a bronze medal position. She was 3rd in PyeongChang last year in the pre-Olympic test. Watch out for her. Oh, Mariana Jamaica, Alina Drazic. Drazic here provides Jamaica unbelievable starts. And on the bottom part of the track, all the way down, Jamaica had the best numbers, but she got caught on the bottom part of the track by Alana Myers-Taylor. But this is a great result for this young German pilot who improves every week. And here's Alana Myers-Taylor. Lolo Jones at the back. Myers-Taylor won 4 times last year. She has not won yet this year. This would be a great way for her to set her attitude up as you go into the PyeongChang Winter Olympic Games. Big speed at the bottom, start record at the top. But Martin, there's so many stories within stories here. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're trying to bring you the stories of who may or may not move up into positions for the games. And again, underline, it is all unofficial, but there is so much going on. So many great stories. Maria Constantina, Romania in 9th place. If she can stay in the top 10, that might earn her a spot. Kaylee Humphries driving a brand new sled, 2 races out from the games. How's that going to work out? Maria Oshigiri and teammate Konomi Osazu and Andrea Greco of Romania don't make the second heat. Nadja Sergeva of Russia now
for her.
Comfortably outdrove her teammate Rodionova. Pressure on Jasmine Fain later Victorian to try and qualify Jamaica for the games. And for Brittany Reinbold and Asia Evans, a chance to qualify a 3rd sled for the USA. There's Romania's Maria Constantin. Why are the tents up? Well, to stop the sun overheating the runners. Hot runners are not allowed on this track. And it's a perennial problem here because it is always so sunny.
There's so many races within races. I mean, it's hard. You know, we're not the official results.
We're trying to keep up, and there are so many little loopholes and laws as well that qualify sleds and nations and so on. So we're just trying to keep tabs on the action. And besides all that, John, just look at this place.
Yeah, the historical venue of our sports.
If there were no points, people would still race here for fun because it is so wonderful a place. Anna Kola is first off, 20th in the first heat, and she will be followed by Alexandra Rodionova and Van Nieuwenhuis and so on down until we get to the battle for the medals with Alicia Riesling 3rd from last, Mariama Yamanka goes 2nd last, and Alana Myers-Taylor and Lolo Jones trying to defend a lead and claim a 1st win of the year and a 3rd in succession for Alana here in Moritz. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup at historic Moritz in Switzerland. Anna Kola and Elina Nolter, 20th after the first heat, get our 2nd run underway.
She had a disastrous first run, couldn't keep it off the wall. The Exeter Curve 1, we'll watch for it. Martin, the historical aspect of this track, you know, what Wimbledon is to tennis, what Indianapolis is to auto racing, what Yankee Stadium is to baseball, this is to bobsledding. This track, they've been sliding in this track for over 100 years. The names and the curves are over 100 years. Great tradition, but boy, do we have an Olympic perspective to talk about here in the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, we really do. There's several very important battles going on. Anna Kola is the 2nd best placed of the German sliders in their overall points ranking, so she has painted herself into a spot for the games already. One thing that we noticed with the German sleds at the bottom of the track, their speeds are exceptional. That's not always been the case with every
is awesome.
Okay,
as the track is warmed up, but the German sleds got beat by Alana Myers in the bottom part of the track.
Yep.
So we'll keep our eyes on that.
103 kilometers an hour, 64 miles an hour.
She could move up 5-6 places.
Ooh.
She had a disastrous first run. She won her first ever World Cup medal last weekend in Altenburg. This track and that track are 2 different personalities. Okay, Rennie says. There she comes down the track, almost a full second.
7100s quicker.
7100s better.
Now, she came out 12th out of 23 sleds, so halfway through the first run, but the track is definitely getting quicker and quicker and quicker all day long here. The frost from the overnight low, -12, -15, is easing off it.
Now, she's on the wrong side of this straightaway going into this big horseshoe curve, one of the most famous curves in the world. The high line where you get up near the wood, that's the best line. You can see the runner tips there. Just a barely squeeze of the handles to get you off the curve. Then down here, this is a super speedway. That part of the track's the fastest, and you need to not make a mistake like she just did.
Alexandra Rodionova is the top point-scoring Russian athlete at the moment, with Yulia Shoksheva behind her. Rodionova coming into this race just a handful of points ahead of her teammate Sergeva. How much is a handful? 12 points, beg your pardon, 8 points in front. But Sergeva is 4 spots further up the rankings at the moment.
Yeah, Sergeva beat her at the start pretty convincingly. Watch this entrance into this flat curve. You can't get around there perfectly. You know, you have to do some damage control and hope to exit. Keep your eye on the start velocity, 54.5. That velocity has a lot to do with how you come down this little straightaway here that's really steeper than it looks on TV.
Start not as quick as Anna Kolar. Velocity wasn't as good as Anna Kolar either, so she's in the red numbers. She was only 600ths in front at the end of the 1,700-meter track.
Kolar had a terrible first run. I expect Kolar to live in that leader's box for at least a couple sleds.
Lower speed than Anna Kolar as well from the Russian driver. Good high line.
Former luge athlete here, 103. No, she's a kilometer down. That's 63.2 miles an hour. She's going to fall back more.
Well, she'll drop to the bottom. Well, she'll be second at the line behind Anna Kolar, but
Russian sleds just haven't had any speed here in this super speedway.
It's a bit of a surprise.
San Moritz, 139.3, 86.5 miles an hour.
Getting closer on speed to the German, but not enough.
43. That tells you how good Anna Kolar was in this heat, how bad she was in the previous heat. Alexander Zubkov can look on at his former Olympic luge athlete and just shake his head.
Well, these Valna sleds that the Russians have normally get great numbers at the bottom. Not doing so today.
Look at the start. Watch the driver. Watch the brakeman's arms as they get in here. Both arms in. She's a little bit of a skip. Not bad, though. Horseshoe. You slingshot effect onto the bottom part of the track. You have to hit perfectly. It looks like she came over a little bit too early. Didn't have any speed. A full kilometer plus down to the German sled. That's costly.
Third of our 20 sleds in the second heat here in San Moritz. Anne van Nieuwenhuizen and Sophie Verkrijzen. There are 2 nations that get 3 sleds in the games. The next 4 nations get 2. Belgium is one of those. So Anne van Nieuwenhuizen, Sophie Verkrijzen.
Look at that technique. The brakeman knows how to get in and get down quickly. There's a skid, though. Watch the start velocity. 54.7, well off the pace.
It's up at this part of the track when you're at so low speed that the skids just go on forever. The driver barely dares breathe at this stage. Her speed out of the first corner, 33.9 kilometers an hour, just a whisker behind Anna Kolar, the current leader. She's 500ths back, 700ths up from the start. And her advantage was 1300ths after the first heat. So Kolar stays in the lead. High line at the horseshoe. Does she land it well? Looked like it.
Speed, 102.2. That's a tap there. She doesn't have the speed of the German sled. Remember, the German sled had a disastrous run 1, great run 2. I said she could live in that winner's box for at least 4 or 5 sleds, maybe.
1300ths back, still in front of Alexandra Rodionova.
21 on, lost more time.
139.5, very close to the speed of the German sleds.
Lost it at the start.
And she ducks ahead, 2500, so she is in second. Anna Kolar on the left, and Elina Nolter on the right of your shot.
I think is going to give the Belgium the 2nd spot in the Olympic Games.
Well, they're painted into that anyway.
Top 2 nations get 3 sleds. The next 4 nations with 2 sleds. And then it's a land grab for those final 6.
At the moment, Belgium are definitely in with a second sled. It's a little rocky there through Nash and Dixon.
Look at the high line. I like that line.
And
look
she
at
holds the height
Look at
late.
the rudder tips. You can see just minute steering to get out of there. Don't create any friction. That was a good line. Didn't have a very good start.
So Anne van Nieuwenhuizen lies second as Anna Kola continues to lead. 3 of 20 sleds down in the second heat. Belgium at the moment with 2 sleds in the games. And USA battling for third, but it's not about what Jamie Grubel-Poser and Lauren Gibbs do. It's down to Brittany Reinbolt versus Christina de Bruyne, we think.
Pretty surprising to see the World Cup leader from last year back in the 17th position here. So I don't know if they're just coasting into the Olympics, but Jamie Grubel never had worse than 5th place last year. This year, she just hasn't been doing it. She's got 6s or 2 6s. Last week, 2nd in Altenburg. Just don't understand why she's back at 17th place. She could just be relaxing as she goes into PyeongChang, which last year, Martin, again, she was the World Cup champion, including winning the PyeongChang pre-Olympic test. PyeongChang, 3400s, great speed, great velocity, good start by. These are both Ivy League athletes. Jamie's from Cornell, Lauren's from Brown. Lauren played volleyball, Jamie was a heptathlete. Speed, 100-2.7. It's not what the German sled had, but she's got a lot of time in the bank.
We're saying between the 2 runs, John, I can't remember last time Jamie was down as low as 17th
place.
She has never had a World Cup result as low as 17th place. Never.
Ooh. Yeah, hard hit, 34, 139.7, 86.8 miles an hour.
14th in St. Moritz in 2011.
108.29.
Right, so she has the lead.
6,500's better. The Germans went 7,100's better.
108.29 is the 7th fastest run of the competition so far.
Okay, that's the Jamie Grubel-Poser we know. She could live in the leader's box a few sleds.
Well, that's better.
Well, the start, I mean, Lauren Gibbs, watch her technique. 4 years, this former volleyball player from Brown. Watch the arms. Big, in, down, aerodynamics. You see, then down here in that super speedway part of the track, little tap cost her for sure.
Well, she has the lead, and she should be able to move up after a smoking run like that. 5th sled in the field, Christina Hengster and Val Kleiser. They were 16th after the first heat. And they have an advantage of just 1/100th of a second over Jamie Grubel-Poser.
Pretty deficient start in the first run for this very talented Austrian driver, 5:20. Ooh, that's not going to help. 20th best start, 5:76 first run, 54.2. Some of the worst velocity we're going to see.
Well, they were the 4th sled out at the start in the race. The first 3 sleds did not make the field in the second heat.
Well, but, oh, that's really uncharacteristic of Christina Hengster to hit up there like that on the exit wall, entrance to the snake, 1 and 2.
That's going to rob her of speed, only 53.2 miles an hour.
Going to have 102 and change. She taps there, too.
3600's back.
102.8. Good speed considering the mistakes.
She's going to drop behind Anna Kola right now. And the BTC Latvia sled that she's driving quick at the bottom, but she hasn't gone off.
She's bringing it back, though.
63.9, second only to Kola.
She's second now. Tap there, 140.2. That's magical speed.
3300's back.
87 miles an hour.
She won't take the lead, but she is
only
second.
Drops 1. Well, that's where you expect those 2 to move up a number of sleds. Not a clean run for Christina Hengster. No. You can see the talent she's got, but achieving the best speed, 87 miles an hour on the bottom part of the track.
Yeah, into the 140s, but she shrugs a little. The early start draw really didn't help her day.
Well, and this didn't help, and her deficient start times of 73 and 70. And then down here, this is the long straightaway, and you have to set yourself up. Get on the left side of the screen. She's trying to get over there. She taps and she taps. You won't see Christina Hengster make too many mistakes like she just did. She made 3 of them there in that run. See, look at her head. She knows it.
Jamie Grubel-Poser, Christina Hengster, Anna Kola, the top 5. Top 3, 5 down, 15 to go. Jeopardy for the USA and Canada. Both nations battling to qualify a third sled. It's where your third driver ends up in the overall rankings for the season. It's Christina de Bruyne versus Brittany Reinbold. 1300s between them in the first heat.
She needs to be cleaner out of the first turn. She did the same thing again. 2 heats in a row, and then she comes down in the next chink here, and she was sideways. Let's see if she gets through. Much better. Little drift.
Oh.
Another. She had a lot of problems up there in the first run that cost her that 1300s.
The deal with this, John, is whoever finishes in front in points qualifies a third sled for their nation, and they will be the third driver that goes.
What pressure this is. 1 heat to march in the Olympic parade. That's not a good...
Skiddy.
There, skiddy.
And she's been so strong all year, Christina de Bruyne.
High line here. She's same kind of line she had in the first run. Speed, 102.5. Not the best speed, but...
Started the season with 6th place in Lake Placid. She's had 2 9th-place finishes as well. Missed the cut once in Winterberg.
Jamie wasn't perfect down here. She needs to be perfect. This is a spot in the Olympic Games.
Well, she needs to move up. That's great speed.
She's going to come back to single digits, maybe.
Needs to move up the order.
The great run for Christina de Bruyne. What pressure. The Canadians, she doesn't control her destiny, though.
No.
Brittany Reinbold controls her destiny to go to the Olympic Games.
Possibly.
Because that was not a perfect run. It wasn't a great run.
Okay, and again, just to confirm that we don't have automatic points update. This is based on what we think is likely to happen. Well, Christine's looking a little deflated after that.
Wasn't perfect.
With Melissa Lottholz.
Great speed in the bottom. She definitely
such a big start.
Let it fly in the bottom part of that track.
All right, now it's time to wait. But this first corner dink, and you can imagine how tense she and Brittany Reinbold are.
And Brittany Reinbold did the same thing.
Yeah.
But here, these type of mistakes here, the back end comes out on her. That's out of Sonny.
Yeah, going past Monty's Bolt, the junior starts. Next up, Jasmine Fenlater, Victorian, and Jamaica ahead of Romania in the points before the race started. But the Romanians had a much better run in the first heat.
68 in the first run, 63 there. This should be high 54 speed, if not 55. 54.3, not very good velocity for the better start. Well, that might be to the Carrie Russell getting in the sled. Carrie's the sprinter. She won a 4x100 gold medal for Jamaica, 2013 World Championships in Moscow in track and field. But that was not a good velocity.
At the moment, she is behind Sabina Hafner and Misha McNeil for Switzerland and Great Britain in the single sled stage.
That's a strange line there, Nash and Dixon. Up near the wood is the fast lines.
Still in the green. Still with the lead.
103 speed would be great. 102.6.
Trying to beat her former teammates, Jamie Grubel-Poser. Jasmine Fenlater, Victorian, drove for the USA in the last quad. 500s. Still in front.
Losing a little bit back. She's going to need 139 and change speed down here.
Nice and straight.
139, not enough.
Just a fraction behind. She'll drop into second or possibly third behind Christina de Bruyne.
No.
Second. 300s, and that might break Christina's heart.
Stokes on the left, the original Jamaican driver from the '88 Olympic Games.
Same exact time as Christina de Bruyne.
They just lost one more spot. If the Romanians hold their spot, it's close whether or not Jamaica will qualify there.
Yeah. Well,
imagine
all the cool running stories that come out of PyeongChang if they make it to the games.
You could see how tricky it is. You got to feather your way down there, and that wasn't bad, but it wasn't perfect. Look at the rudder tips here. You can see her turning away from that. And then there's this is down the speed part of the track and bridge and tree.
That was getting pushed away and leap into sacks. Good story for Katrin Beil of Austria with Vicky Hahn behind her. 8600s off the lead, 300s ahead of the Jamaicans, and her lead over Jamie Grubel-Poser, 1100s of a second.
They'll give up some time here at the start, 73 in the first run.
Now, by our reckonings, Austria are one of the 4 nations at the moment that have qualified 2 sleds. 5:69 start, 400s quicker than their first.
54, similar speed to the Jamaican sled, and they're pretty much behind the Jamaicans at the start in the number, 600s down at the start, similar velocity. So I say the Jamaicans had a problem with the way they entered and went around that first curve.
So at the moment, either the USA or Canada, whichever doesn't get a third spot, will get 2 sleds. We think Russia should have 2, Austria will have 2, and we think also that Belgium will have 2 sleds in the field.
Catherine Briel, little driver's been coming on. 900's down, 100, no speed at all.
Well, she wiped a lot of it off in
fall back
telephone.
behind the Jamaican sled here, too.
Third at the moment, ahead of Christina de Bruyne.
3/10, and she banged there again.
But there's only 800s covering the top 3 sleds, so she could be in amongst them. Chances are she'll drop behind them all.
This is great for Jamaica to move up a spot here.
And for Christina de Bruyne, this is only a 6th fastest run for Kachenbayo.
Oh.
And that's important for Christina de Bruyne. She stays in 3rd place, so she is still in the hunt, possibly. Christina de Bruyne started the day just ahead of Brittany Reinbold in the overall IBSF ranking.
Nowhere near the speed she had out of the horseshoe in the first run. Didn't see the mistake. This is, watch her come in. Does she hit the wall here on the left? Yeah, she taps there before telephone. That's why she's got no speed. Speed trap's right there. Taps. That's the slingshot effect. You make a mistake there, it costs you all the way to the bottom.
Brittany Reinbold for the USA with Asia Evans behind her. Reinbold shooting for qualifying a 3rd sled for the games for the US.
What pressure.
And if she does, she'll be the driver that goes.
Asia Evans threw her down the track, her 3rd best start time, 5:53. But Brittany made a mistake around the first curve of the first heat. And she does it again.
And she does again. And like Christina Brunn,
63 though, the start time's way off. She had a big start advantage in the first run, does not have it there.
Can you imagine the
velocity
nerves?
Was way off the pace too.
1300ths of a second is the lead. Whichever of Brittany Reinbold and Christina de Bruyne finishes in front of the other, they will go to the games.
She lost the start advantage that she had in the first heat over the Canadian sled. Now she's going to have to drive perfect lines to get her spot on the Olympic team. Asia Evans will make it as a brakeman either way, but this is for a spot on the Olympic team. Speed 102.1, not very good speed.
4th place, she slipped behind Christina de Bruyne. She needs a perfect run. She's got 800 meters to qualify for the games.
Oh, the start was
700 meters, a big hit out of wall. It's going to be very close. 3rd place will do it. 4th place will not.
No speed.
1 corner to go at the line. She's in 4th. De Bruyne is in. And Reinbold, I think, is out.
Out of the games by 1600ths of a second. Look at
1,700 meters of ice.
the start. That's where she lost it. The start in the first run was awesome. In the second run, she did not have the start velocity, 10 hundredths worse start time. Then that mistake. But if she had 10 more hundredths there, she would have had 20 more hundredths on the bottom. And then this didn't help, but she was already gone by then. Thrill of victory, agony of defeat.
There's a battle between the Russian drivers. Alexandra Rodionova, who has more points coming into this race, is the Russian #1, but she is currently 9th of 9 sleds. Teammate Nadezhda Sergeyeva next at the line, and if she finishes even one spot in front of Rodionova, then she will go into the final World Cup race of the season as the best point-scoring Russian. Don't forget, this isn't the last World Cup race. We've still got Koenigsegg last week, but right now, she can put clear blue sky between herself and her teammate to be Russia 1.
Great start in the first run. Ooh, 54, awesome start. Wow. Again, 55.2, the best velocity. That little mistake hurt her. She did have a 5th place earlier this year in Whistler, her best finish of the season.
I'm not sure that Sergeyeva and Kochetsova have started top 6
like that. This is
season.
All season. We've been talking about how bad the Russian start times are. These two might have finally put it together.
5th in Whistler, 8th last week in Altenburg, the only 2 results inside the top 10 this year.
So 102.9 or above 103 speed is good. 102.7.
3,500s up on Jamie Grubel-Poser. 102.7, Grubel-Poser 103.0 there.
Hey, last week we had a track in Altenburg. I said it's like Darlington and NASCAR. Track too tough to tame. This place, St. Moritz, is like Talladega, or it's like Daytona. It's a super speedway. You can see the Russian sleds losing time back in the bottom, which is what they've been doing, but enough time in the bank.
She will take the lead. Now, she was tied for 10th. Jamie Grubel-Poser out of the leader's box. Will be no worse than maybe 11th place. That'd be no worse
for her.
But yeah, for Sergeva, she wipes the floor with her teammate. She's 9 spots ahead of her.
The start time is what I'm impressed with.
Yeah.
Russian women's teams have just been, so has the men's, have been plagued with subpar start times. And then this little first curve.
Wow, she's lucky there. She didn't steer, and it came back straight. You know, that could have skidded the other way. And so much of that first corner is how still the brakeman is. If you shuffle around, you break into a skid. There's Kochetsova on the right, Sergeva on the left. They lead, 10 down, 10 to go. And Christina de Bruyne ahead of Brittany Reinbold. And that perhaps deals with one of our stories of who goes to the games in PyeongChang. Oh boy, can you imagine the pressure on Christina de Bruyne and Brittany Reinbold coming into today's race? What enormous pressure. There's Christina. She thought it was all over in the first heat. With her back to us is Sandra Kyriasis, a 6-time winner on this track. And now it's not tears of agony after the first heat. It's tears of relief.
The Canadians have got 3 sleds in now.
There's Melissa Lottholz.
She just plugged her ticket into the Olympic Games, too.
Oh, and look.
There's our leaders. I'll tell you, these 2 are impressive. This brakeman on the right, so rookie year, second year, she's a track and field athlete. She's starting to figure things out.
They're feeling no pain. Kaylee Humphries at the line with Felicia George. Kaylee driving a brand new sled. It's never been raced before. And they opted to test the BTC sled in the final run of training. I thought they were going to race the BTC, but they're going with Mick, made in Canada, their brand new sled. Well, there below is the Cresta run that arcs over to the buildings in the front. And there you can see the uphill run across the track from Martineau to Portago. The final 2 corners start to head up towards the finish line. So a mistake between the last 2 left-handers can be very costly. And the ruined church down there in Celerina, what a stunning location. And there are your race leaders. And in more of a hurry to get into their warm-up clothing than anywhere else. Yes, -8 out. Oh, look at the relief on Melissa Lottholz and Christina de Bruyne's faces. Oh, boy.
The Olympics.
And for Brittany Reinbold
coming out
Asia
this
Evans.
venue today that makes an Olympic team.
Yeah.
The ones that don't make it, I feel for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are still more stories of jeopardy to be dealt with. We're going to try and guide you through them as much as we can. But again, we're trying to do arithmetic live on air, and that's never a smart move. Beautiful day for bobsledding. Sunny St. Moritz. Olympic champion Kaylee Humphries, the 2010 and 2014 champion with Felicia George, world Olympic doubles summer Olympian and world championship competitor. 10th after the first heat, tied to the 100 with our current leader, Russia's Nadezhda Sergeva, but driving a brand new, untested sled built in Canada that has never raced before.
Yeah, MIC sled, made in Canada, site with the engineering firm up in Calgary. A lot of help in doing it. Push bar's not out, push bar's not in. This is going to be a distraction. This could be an equipment malfunction. This is only about the 6th time down. It finally comes down. Is that an aerodynamic concern? And at that speed, I don't know, but
at that speed,
hundreds of seconds, maybe. Yeah. Maybe there was a couple hundreds there, but...
Great start, 5.50, really big push. That's the fastest in the field so far.
Well, it's Felicia George on the back. She's 2-time Olympian from Rio and London. She's just made her World Cup debut last week with Kaylee, and they won in Altenburg. Kaylee opted to try this new sled.
Fastest
Starters
starting
back 1-2-6. It's not bad speed. It's not best.
Now she's got much better ice to deal with. She was 5th off in the
Here
first
she comes,
heat.
though. She's
Here we
gonna
go.
overtake
Now,
the Russian.
let's see what it's got in speed at the bottom. That'll be really interesting to see.
There.
It's got a much lower nose profile.
That's a clean line there. 139.1.
All right.
That is 86.4 miles an hour. Not as fast as her teammate Christina de Bruyne, who had 87 miles an hour.
500s in front of the Russian. She breaks the tie.
But I think they'll look back. Christina de Bruyne, her teammate, who had a much slower start.
Ooh, and Felicia on the brakes too late, runs up onto the rubber. You don't want to do that. It is only rubber and not concrete, but it's still full of muck and grit.
Yeah, her teammate had 1,500 slower start, or de Bruyne, a 1,500 slower start and a mile an hour better at the bottom. So you can see that Felicia George still isn't perfect get in that sled, but she will be, the track and field athlete.
And you see the sled weaving. That's because Kaylee had one hand on trying to knock the handle in.
Down, yeah.
Okay, well, she has the lead. It'll be no worse than a top 10 finish for the brand new sled on its debut. Now, this could be a very big story. Maria Constantin chasing down Jasmine Fenlater Victorian. Jasmine Fenlater Victorian for Jamaica, 686 points, 652, so 34-point difference from Maria Constantin.
She needs to be the leader at the bottom part of the track. This is the biggest heat for Romania in a long time.
Yeah, in her life for Maria.
Yeah.
If she
gonna
gets
give up all sorts of time here at the start, but pretty good exit. Velocity is going to be low 54s.
578.
54.2. Now, there's just no mistakes allowed, but that deficiency at the start, she just got crushed by 28 hundredths at the start by Kaylee Humphries. I cannot see her overcoming that deficiency. Skid there on the exit of wall. On the top of their sled is a logo. It says Sinaia. That's the old track in Romania in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Romania was a power of the sport. Their last World Cup medal at the World Championships in Lake Placid in '73. A guy named Pentaro. But the Romanians, this is...
Right, she's gone from 7th on the splits up to 6th. Jasmine Fenlater Victorian in Jamaica currently 4th. She needs to be a whisker behind Kaylee Humphries at the line. She's up to 5th. Still behind the Jamaican sled. At the moment, Jamaica hold the upper hand and are more likely to get a spot in the games.
29. Speed's excellent. Great speed.
Not going to be enough.
87.2.
She needs to be second, 100th or 2 behind, and she's not. She's 4th, just ahead of Jasmine Fenlater Victorian. One spot won't do it.
No, we're not official.
No, we're not official.
That locks the Jamaicans into the Olympic Games.
I think it...
And there's some other stuff going on that I think they knew they had to be in the lead at the bottom.
Yeah, well, they needed an outstanding first run. They got an outstanding first run, but they needed even more speed in the second.
The start time, though, the velocity, they had the worst start so far of anybody that's come down.
Top 8 in the first heat for Belgium's Elfje Willemsen, with replacement brakewoman Shana van Heen. Shana stepping in at the last minute. They decided yesterday that Sarah Ertz wouldn't start this race. Sarah is the #1 Belgian brakewoman, but they're resting her up. Not sure if they're going to race in Koningszee with her or whether she will just make sure that she is fit for the trip to Korea.
Well, we call her the Queen of Speed. She'll give up time at the start. One of the 4 or 5 athletes in the front seat of the competition that's a hammer thrower or a javelin thrower, track and field athlete. Not a bad, this is 54.3 or 4.
300's quicker than their first heat.
That's pretty good velocity. That means the entry into the sled around the first curve without too much of a mistake. And in the first run, she flew on the bottom part of the track. But it's so tough to have 2 consecutive runs.
And that's where her experience comes in. Started the sport in 2007.
So she's 2,500s back. That's going to grow out to 30 before it cries. Tap there, Nash Dixon. Now she's going to need 103+ speed here to have a chance.
And she came off the 22nd fastest start.
Speed, so she's got a chance. 2100s is going to be absolute perfect lines. If anybody can do it, it's one of these queens of speed. Going to need 87.5. Oh, that's a drift there. 140.6, 87.3. I don't think it's going to be enough. She does it by 100th. That's unbelievable. You can take a deficiency on this track, be rewarded with lines. It wasn't a perfect run. She just claimed some pretty big scalps there.
They guarantee themselves a top 8 finish, and that will almost equal their best. They were 6th in Altenburg last week, a real driver's track. And the Belgians, we believe, should take 2 sleds there. Sophie Verkruijsen in the background, who was braking with Anne van Nieuwenhuizen.
She had 6th place last week in Altenburg, 6th at the Games, Sochi in 2014. Just gives away time at the start. This didn't help her effort. She might have had the best speed down here. Right now, she's 1/10 of a mile an hour down to Christina de Bruyne.
22nd fastest start in the first heat to finish 8th. She's our leader. Next up, Misha McNeil of Great Britain with Mika Moore. Now, of the nations that have a single sled in the hunt, they started the day a handful of points ahead of Switzerland's Sabina Hafner. They lie just behind her in this race. Okay,
not good. Speed, velocity, 54.5, similar to the Belgian sled, but the Belgian sled was cleaner.
Much better start, 5.67 compared to 5.73 in the first heat.
Look how low she is in the talent.
She was 2 points ahead of Sabina Hafner after the first 6 races. Sabina's coming next.
1900s lead.
Now, it shouldn't matter because both Great Britain and Switzerland should be able to send a single sled to the Games.
High line, no, low line.
But she lands it nicely.
2300s, 103.1, though, that's pretty good speed. Now, this British sled crashed last week in Altenburg, where they looked like they had a great run going to the second run. Top 6 finish, maybe. And I was shocked when I saw McNeil get out of the sled. I thought she might have some concussion protocol, not get to this race. But here she is.
Little tap, 140.8 is decent speed. 2,500 up on Elfia Willemsen.
She's got the best speed in the bottom part of the track.
And that lays down a challenge to Sabina Hafner, who comes up next, the Swiss Miss, who won the Swiss Championships
what a season
a couple of weeks
this
ago.
girl has had. I bet you, Martin, they've crashed 6 times in the season.
Up and down like the Assyrian Empire.
Self-funded. They had no money. The British couldn't fund them. Self-funding program.
So
Before the season started, and here they are going to the Olympic Games. The lines on the bottom part of the... This is the best speed in the bottom part of the track.
Yep.
And not with the best start time in the tap there. We've seen a lot of taps there, but she's got the 8th best
Here's
start
her
so
season.
far.
8th, 13th, 5th, 20th, 10th, 20th. So it's been
including a disqualification or one of those races she crashed out.
Yeah. Crashed last week.
Britain.
Okay, so now Sabina Hafner and Eveline Rebsamen, one of the identical twin sisters who breaks for her. Top 6 after the first run, but a big advantage in terms of time, 2,500s over the Brits from the first heat. She could be in the medals.
Nice exit of curve 1. Pretty good start, 66 velocity, 54.8, great velocity. This is the firecracker. She's won on this track before, between 2006 and 10. Then she took 4 years off in the Olympics, came back to try and qualify, and here she is on her way to qualify for the Olympic Games.
700s out of bronze after the first heat.
She was an electrician between 2006 and 10. Then decided to go back to school. That's why we didn't see her for 4 years. Now an electrical engineer. She gave me a lecture about runners and steel the other night that had me sitting down, and I left the conversation going, she's way smarter than I am. Really knows equipment, knows runners. High there, tap there. But this looks like she'll be the leader. 139.7, 86 miles an hour, 0.8 miles an hour, 108.09, takes the lead. A lot more celebrations going on in the coaches' boxes because this is Olympic selection.
Top 6 finish guaranteed, the first since January 2011.
They call her the firecracker. up here, or this bottom part of the track, this down in Tree and Bridge, now to Gunter Sachs, now in the straightaway before Materno Super Speedway.
That's her shot for a medal. 1:08.09 would have left her third in the first heat.
Elfie Williamson.
5 sleds to go. Switzerland's Sabine Hafner leads the field. Can she march on into the medals? Moritz, Switzerland, and Martina Fonteneva, the relative rookie in the Swiss setup. 5th place after the first heat in Bert Hefty's 2-man sled.
Irina Strebel driving on the brakes. This is a rookie. They were at a press conference last night, and the press officer for the Swiss team said they were a little overwhelmed with the amount of media that was there.
Look at those lines, fantastic. They were in the top 10 in starts in the first heat. They've gone quicker in the second, battling to stay ahead of their teammates.
This is something the Swiss women athletes haven't had is start times. And Maria Fonteneva, hopefully she can stay within the sport. She's got some eyes and hand talent, you can see that. But she will not qualify for the Olympic Games.
I think it's a little too late, but this is only her second season at the top level.
Good speed, 103.
It's only her 3rd World Cup race this year, in fact.
But for her to get a medal here would be an unbelievable asset to Swiss bobsleigh.
900s. The Swiss are going to be 1-2 after this, but who's going to be in front? Will it be the kid or the veteran? Martina Fonteneva still 900 in front.
40.3, 87.3 miles an hour.
Keeps it clean.
Same as her teammate. 14, 107.97. She takes the Swiss battle and maybe a medal. It's a good run.
We could have 2 Swiss sleds in the medals here, but
that was finish ever.
A fantastic run for Martina Fonteneva.
2 Swiss sleds in the top 6. Swiss bobsledding definitely needs this type of result. They've been lacking this last quad in women's bobsledding.
This is her 6th World Cup race. She's never finished higher than 15th. Stephanie Schneider of Germany, 2 wins already this season, crashed out in Altenburg last week. And it looked as though her brakeman was pretty banged up. However, they are back, and Lisa Buchwitz behind her, ready to go. They had the 4th fastest start in the first heat, 4th at the bottom, 200s out of the medals. Wasn't the greatest hit between the 2 of them. Schneider hung up on the front bar.
54 in the first run. Nice, 49.
Oh, but skiddy.
Should be 55, 55 too, yeah, that's good.
That ties the start record, by the way. Equal fastest starts of the competition. There you go, you can hear Guido getting very excited. And the driver will hear him yelling. You can hear the track announcer.
It's because the track's so quiet and smooth, this natural ice on this historical venue that rivals Indianapolis and motor racing, Wimbledon and tennis. This is the history of the sport on this track. This is where the sport was born. Here's one of the 2700s, 103, 104. No one's had that number. 104.2 on the exit. That's 64.7 miles an hour. Now she starts to accelerate away. This is for a medal. She's going to challenge her for a medal with a clean run. Those are clean lines there. And the speed, 141.5, 87.9. Best speed anybody's had so far. Track record, 44 hundredths up. Wow, look at the German coaches. 66 hundredths better, 64 hundredths better in that heat. That's the biggest improvement of any sled so far.
That's her shot for gold. Unless Alana Myers-Taylor goes more than 3/10 quicker than her first heat, she's not going to stay in the lead. That is a great run from Stephanie Schneider. Never won here as a brake woman.
She just won twice this year. The first ever medals came in the opening race in Lake Placid. Here, perfect exit of horseshoe, slingshot out of the bottom. Doesn't tap that wall there where we've seen out Tree and Bridge, a lot of people. There's the former brakeman, former world champion as a brakeman, now in the front seat. Boy, she's peaking at the right time as we go into Korea.
Germany lead, 3 to go, and Alicia Rissling, the top Canadian, bronze medal position after the first heat with double Olympic gold medal brake woman Heather Moyse behind her. There's Lyndon Rush behind, the driving coach. And Riss, what an opportunity.
So Heather Moyes, the two-time Olympic gold medalist, unretired to come back to help Elise Riesling into the Olympics. This could be an important step right here. 59, 200's better than her first run. And everybody forgets how good of an athlete Moyes is. She just got inducted into the Rugby Hall of Fame last season. Riesling, one World Cup medal in her career. It was in PyeongChang, Korea last year in the pre-Olympic test. Boy, would this do a lot to her attitude going into the Olympic Games.
Okay, little skiddy there. She's 1100s back, getting into Snake. Little flop off into Nash and Dixon as well.
1100s was related to the start. She needs 104 speed here to challenge the Germans. 16, that's not bad. 103.6, that's not great. But
second place, there's a gap. 4400s behind Schneider to the best of the Swiss sleds.
We don't have that equal speed on the exit of that horseshoe. Pretty tough to narrow the gap.
This is a medal for Stephanie Schneider. Riesling is drifting further away. She's going to be in second spot at the line. She is in second.
Still
Schneider, the leader, is in the medals.
Schneider never won a medal until the first event, Lake Placid. Then she came to Europe and she won consecutively in Winterberg and Innsbruck. She has arrived as a German driver.
Well, that's a big result for Alicia Riesling. Best run of the season of 4 7th places. And now a 4th place spot guaranteed. She may yet take a medal. Heather Moyes, there she is. Happy with that. A little rocky at the top of the track.
Down here, that's an uphill section of the track as you go into the Portago curve. No mistakes there allowed.
That was a good day.
Good day in the office. A bad day in St. Moritz is a good day anywhere else. Well, there's the Belgians, Anne van Nieuwenhuizen. And I think there's Daisy Freeling, who is part of the Belgian setup. I think they're very happy.
Celebrating their spots on the Olympic parade.
Okay, 1100s of a second cover our top two. Mariama Yamanka and Annika Dracek, second fastest start, second fastest run.
Watch the brakeman get in, get down. She's only about 20 years old, 21 years old.
5:46.
Yamanka never started like that. They matched her up with Annika Dracek, and now look at what's going on. And I say this is the best German driver in camp for the Germans.
Dracek won the World Championships here with Anja Schneider-Heinze. I beg your pardon, she didn't. She won in 2014-15 with Anja Schneider-Heinze.
Exit the wall was a mistake. Boy, huge lead. Unbelievable how far ahead she is of her German teammate.
Well, she was 3300s ahead of Schneider from the first heat. It's not about Schneider, it's about trying to beat Alana Myers-Taylor.
Right there, 103.6. It's 3/4 of a kilometer down in speed to her teammate. She'll lose time back here. There's 36, so she stopped accelerating ahead. Mistake on the exit of Horseshoe did not help her efforts. Here in the super speedway part, she's okay, 140.7, 87.4 miles an hour. That's half a mile an hour down. Track record still 107.50. That's relative to the 3/400s better start. Even with those mistakes, she still had a track record.
Well, she only found 600s on her teammate in that run.
Well, that's exactly what the difference was at the start. 300s at the start, excuse me. Here, too low. Too low. Watch how long. Look at her head moving back and forth. That's the G-force. Then she comes out too early. Watch the back end of the sled airborne. Look at here. And then this forces you to the middle of the curve. You want to slingshot yourself there and extend your speed opportunity. She didn't. There's skid there in the uphill section between Martineau and Portago. But still another medal. The Germans got 2 medals.
Germany 1-2, 1 sled to go. Alana Myers-Taylor has won the last 2 races here in St. Moritz. She has not won this season. Lolo Jones on the back. They set a new start record, 5:49 in the first heat. They need to do the same again.
Germans just went 5:46. I'm sure both these two know that. Don't run too far, Lolo. Get in, get down.
And gets still 5:43. Great start.
Velocity's got to be 55.8. Best velocity. Now Lana, who won 4 times last year, she has not won this year. It's like, what's going on? Well, today could be a good day for her to position her mind as we go into Korea. She won on this track last year, and with that type of start, it's her race to lose right now. Good lines. Speed, 100, low line there. 1200's down to 12. 104.4 is excellent. This is where she motored in the first run. She was equal with the Germans in the middle part of the track. Bottom part of the track, Alana just flew. 21, here she goes away. Straight away. Oh, not good. 29 should be enough though. That was a big mistake down in that super speedway part. 2100s, 107.40. Alana Myers finally captures a gold medal. The U.S. coaches, Brian Scheimer, Mike Dion, have a lot of relief in there. They know that their Olympic hopeful here is online. And whether or not Lolo Jones makes the Olympic team, there's only 2 brakemen going to the games.
3, they'll take a spare, but they've got 6 or 7 to choose from. Alana Myers-Taylor claims her 3rd win in a row in sunny St. Moritz. And the BMW sled posting great speed numbers at the bottom of the track. Ahead of the 2 Germans, Mariama Yamanka in the silver. Stephanie Schneider takes bronze. Last year, Lolo Jones, Kerry Jones and Brianna Jones all won with Alana Myers-Taylor. This year, so far, only Lolo.
Pretty impressive display of athleticism here. If Alana Myers-Taylor can get starts like this, which she's going to need, she's definitely the favorite going into the Olympic Games if she gets starts like that. But that type of driving right there, that was a big mistake on the bottom part of the track, but she was still had so much time in the bank, still set the track record, and quite an emotional day for the American team.
Alana Myers-Taylor claims victory from Mariama Yamanka and Stephanie Schneider. Alicia Rissling just eased out of the medals to 4th. Martina Fonteneve ahead of teammate Sabina Hafner, Switzerland 5th and 6th. Ahead of Misha McNeil and Alfia Willemsen. The Olympic champion in 9th. Nadia Sergeva of Russia in 10th. High drama for Brittany Reinbold and Christina de Bruyne, both leaving the track in tears. And it was always going to be the case that one would be tears of joy and relief and one tears of disappointment.
Really feel for Brittany. She's put so much in, but last week's 4 crashes in a row in training in Altenburg sidelined her chances to walk in that Olympic parade. And one of those brakemen won't go either.
Well, it always comes down in the end to one precipitous moment, doesn't it? But it's kind of the whole season long. You know, Christine de Bruyne had a bit of a nightmare in Winterberg, finished 21st, and that almost sort of pushed her out of the way. And then for Brittany Reinbold, today was the final day of reckoning. Well, quiet and relaxed Alana Myers-Taylor, 3rd win in a row. 2 years ago, won with Lauren Gibbs, last year with Brianna Jones, and this year with Lolo Jones. Kaylee Humphries, well, she tried a brand new sled, and she's still got plenty of speed in the old one, but she can go out
Lolo Jones
challenge for the gold. Yeah, Lolo looking happy, relaxed, start records in both heat, beat the best in the field with Alana Myers-Taylor, and for a brakewoman, you can't ask more than that. Well, whether or not we get to see her in the opening parade in PyeongChang is a decision for the coaches. Stephanie Schneider.
Yeah, there were some doubts there.
Lisa Buchwitz,
There was so many doubts, snakes and ladders, as you call it, all over the place.
Well, Schneider, if she crashed out in the first heat, she might have lost Germany that 3rd spot, but Germany will be taking 3 sleds to the Games, and Canada will. USA now, we believe, will be the first of the 2 sled nations, followed by Russia, Austria and Belgium. And again, this is all unofficial. It will be announced on Monday. Take a look at this place. The sleds may be different, but the drivers from 100 years ago would recognise the scenery and the track in St. Moritz. Kaylee Humphries, the World Cup points leader. Alana Myers-Taylor now just 30 points behind her.
Wow. After
claiming her first win of the season. The battle for the Crystal Globe goes down to the final race in Koenigsegg, Bavaria next week. And Brittany Reinbold of the USA just finishing behind Christina de Bruyne. Canada get a third sled. But victory for the first time in 12 months. She won here in St. Moritz last year. She wins for the third straight year on this track. Alana Myers-Taylor with Lolo Jones.
Yeah, good velocity all the way down. A little mistake down here, but she got away with it. You know, when you're going 85 miles an hour, that type of sideways action doesn't kill your time. She had enough time in the bank from 2 start times were records. She walks away with her first gold medal. Good timing.
Perfect timing for Alana Myers-Taylor, perfect timing for Lolo Jones. And the US coaches now have yet another question mark to decide on who they can take to PyeongChang. 2 women's sleds will go, so that's 2 crews of 2 plus 1 spare, so 3 brake women are likely to make the trip. And depends, of course, on who's fastest, healthiest, and a whole set of other discussions that they have to have. The selection process for all the 5 disciplines, bobsleigh and skeleton, their names should be with the IBSF by Monday from the teams, and then the IOC should confirm start lists and entries a week from Monday. However, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. There's your happy winners: Alana Myers-Taylor, Lolo Jones, Marianne Muanken, Annie Dracek on the left-hand side, the silver medalist, Stephanie Schneider and Lisa Buchwitz on the right of your picture. They are the bronze medalists. And after skeleton women got busy with the fizzy champagne everywhere, I think the bobsleigh girls will take them back to the garage and allow the team perhaps to enjoy them at their leisure. Well, any win is a good win. A win in St. Moritz and a third in succession is a great win for Alana Myers-Taylor and Lolo Jones. That's it from women's bobsleigh from St. Moritz. 1 World Cup race to go in Koenigsegg, Bavaria a week from now. Until then, from John Morgan, the IBSF TV crew, and me, Martin Haven, thank you for being with us. We'll see you soon in St. Moritz.